Why do I like this company so much? Let's talk about it. Let's start from the top. The CEO is an MIT grad who has an excellent track record. He's an absolute stud. Listen to him on the conference calls. The company is Coherent Corp, COHR. Jim Anderson is the CEO. NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, and the rest of the chip companies are making chips that are so fast that they need data at an extreme rate. When you're thinking about the limiting factors of AI, it is not Jensen Huang or Lisa Su deciding, oh, this is a new way to manufacture silicon, let's design it and it will be more powerful. There's a few things you can think about. People have talked about the energy trade. Yes, we need a lot of energy for these chips, but these chips are also getting more efficient. But generally, if the chips are fast enough and the energy is cheap enough, there's unlimited amount of energy that we need. So maybe that's a limiting factor. The other one is networking. It doesn't matter how fast these chips are if they cannot be fed data at a quick enough rate. That's where Coherent comes in. You can talk about rare earths or some other limiting factor, but I think that networking is the most undervalued right now. Goldman Sachs estimates that $450 billion will be spent by hyperscalers building out data centers in 2026, going up to 500 next year. You can take a haircut off that if you want, even though they kept on raising and we've kept on beating estimates. That's fine. 12 to 15% of that is in networking. And it depends if it's a data center that's a leaf structure, meaning multiple data centers talking to each other, which is being more popular, which needs more networking, or if it's just a single super data center. Either way, optical transceivers are incredibly important, not just the number and quantity, but that they get better. We are going from 800G to 1.6T to 3.2T by the time Rubin comes out. Coherent is the leading edge. It has always been a technologist first company. It's like giving $1 billion to a bunch of scientists and being like, fuck around. That's where Jim Anderson comes in. He is a tech guy first and foremost, but he's also incredible at increasing yield. Think TSM. He took lattice semiconductor to a 10x, and when he came over to Coherent, lattice semiconductor was down 25% and Coherent was up 25%. That's how much the analyst and the market and the smart money value this man. This guy, this genius, he understands the tech through and through, but he also understands the manufacturing aspect, meaning how to increase yields and improve margins. Coherent right now, based on Bloomberg estimates, has 5.5 in 2026 as EPS. It is currently trading at $134. So yes, I was pounding the table at $90. I'm glad you got in, somewhere around there. But there's much more runway ahead. I think it's going to 200 in a year from now, / the end of next year, and 500 within 3 years. This is because the analyst estimates are way too low. They have 12% growth next year. We just came off 26, and the industrial segment, which is 1/3 of revenue, was down 17%. The datacom segment was up 46%. That is becoming a bigger and bigger part of their business, but do not write off their industrial laser business. Those industrial lasers where they compete with IPG Photonics as well as Trump, they can go for $500,000 a pop. The cheap ones, the CO2 ones, might be $5K a pop. Either way, these are 40% margin, very high-tech lasers that China also makes, but they are unreliable. That's why people go to Trump or IPG. China is not innovators. They're very good at copying quickly. But if we protect our industry, mainly IPG and Coherent, that should have a lot of upside. I think it will switch from being down 17% to up maybe 25%. Because the Build Back Better bill, a lot of people are holding off on industrial investment. Because next year you can write off in year one what you could only write off 1/5 every 5 years, in 5 years, amortization period of investments in factories. The types of manufacturing that we want back in this country is the expensive kind. And that's partially what you need lasers for, cutting metal and doing crazy things. So nobody talks about that business. 5.5 EPS is something like 23 times forward earnings. And I think this is going to see an inflection point very soon. Definitely in 2026, the smart money's already behind it. If you know who Druckenmiller is, he's owned this company for a long time. And when Druckenmiller owns a tech company, he's usually / always right. He bought NVIDIA at 400, sold it at 800. So he's liable to sell early, but that's a pretty good indicator. If you look at the cap sheet, top 10 holdings are all passive indexes. Then the hedge funds come in, in the top 30. Some of them have decent positions, but there's not a lot of liquidity, so big funds cannot get in. I think the biggest fund in it is Geode. As more people and more funds wake up to this story and the volume picks up, I think this is a company that could easily go to $100 billion. I do not suggest you buy Coherent when it is up 10% in a week, because this thing's a very volatile company. It can go down 5%, and then people on my Substack are like, oh no, what happened to Coherent? It's just another day in fucking tech world, dude. Like then it's up 5% the next 2 days. Like this kind of stuff just happens. I don't think it's priced correctly, and that's why it is so volatile. It's also not really that liquid. Like it trades $400 million per day. To you and me, and compared to some of my small caps, it's a lot of money, but for the size of this company, around $20 billion, it's not that big. As this thing grows, it becomes 30 and 40 and it gets added to the S&P, the volume's going to go up and a lot more people are going to like it and a lot more people are going to get into it. I think that retail needs to know about this company because only 4% of this company is owned by non-institutions, meaning retail. So look it up. I love this company. I followed them from the 2-6 merger and onwards. I have looked into this company more than any as an individual investor, and maybe potentially more than any time I ever looked at a company for a client. The ticker is COHR. The company is Coherent. Jim Anderson is the CEO, and I am the Coherent Man.